Hello there and a special welcome to our special programming on flooding in the country. It has, of course, become a perennial situation that whenever it rains, even for a few minutes, we witness floods, especially in the capital and other parts of the country. And so this program has been put together specifically to update you on areas that have been flooded, parts of the capital and of course elsewhere in the country that have been left submerged, and of course to update you on the situation there to help you fashion out or plan your day and the routes to ply when it rains. So many thanks for joining us. My name is Nanatufo Boateng. Now, as the rains came down this morning, several parts of the capital have been left submerged. I talk about the Obechebe Circle area, the Graphic Road, the Agbogbloshie area, Kwame Nkrumah Circle, Chado, the Gifford Road, Shangri-la, Teshi-Lekma roads. All these areas have been left submerged after the rains came down this morning. And so we're going to paint you a picture of the situation as it is. And then, of course, be advised that water levels may be receding because the rains have stopped. But really, we'll show you what it was like when the rains were falling. And then you can advise yourself on which routes to ply and, of course, how to stay safe. We'll be engaging our correspondents or our reporters who are dotted across the capital and in other parts of the country. And of course, we'll be speaking to relevant stakeholders on the do's and don'ts, and of course, what warnings we should be heeding to in order to stay safe and of course keep well away from the flood. So there's a City TV, a special program on the flooding situation in the country. We're going to show you some pictures of what it was like. Let's start off from Chado, and then we'll see what the situation was like in Chado when the rains came down. So early this morning, Tuesday, we saw the rains coming down as early as 5:30 a.m. And then, of course, we saw the rains causing the usual havoc it does whenever it falls, leaving places in the capital flooded. Now, this has been attributed to a number of factors, including indiscriminate disposal of waste, poor drainage systems, and of course, building in or on waterways. And so that's what some of the factors, of course, that have been attributed to the flooding situation in Accra. So on your screens, you are seeing the Chado area and what it was like during the rains this morning. You see some residents there, of course, were left with no other option than to walk through the rain waters that really had taken over the roads in the area. Now, we spoke to some of the affected persons, and this is what they had to say to us.
The situation you are seeing behind me, the flood, is something that always happens. Anytime there is a flood, even if there is no rain in Chado, and there is a rain somewhere at Ebri, and you see that the gutter our sprinters, the gutter got flooded, and the entire place, everybody around here will be flooded, and the cars and everything. People lose their property, a lot of things happen. Even some years back, there are people who lost their life in this situation. But we keep on reporting, but we are not seeing anything properly. So we don't actually know what to say and what to do now. That's all I can say for now. Thank you.
So yeah, you heard a resident of Chado here in Accra expressing his frustration with the situation in his area. Clearly from what he's been saying, it has to do with poor drainage system because he explains that whenever it rains, or even if it rains in other areas, because the Chado area is low-lying, it collects water from other hilly areas, and of course due to the poor drainage system in the area, it's unable to transport the water onwards and leaves the area flooded. He raised certain concerns, especially having to do with the loss of life and property, and so really a dire situation there in Chado. But let's take you to the Spanner Junction area and show you what the situation has been like there as well. We understand the rainwaters, of course, collected in that area and for close to about 40 minutes there was a standstill. Vehicles were unable to move. So in your shot, yes, that's Spanner Junction, approaching Shangri-La, when you are driving on that road from Legon through to Accra. You can see how rainwater has collected on the road, forcing vehicles to use just one end. And then, of course, even though they're trying to force their way through the water, you can see the levels which are almost above the tires. And this clearly makes it difficult for vehicles to ply the stretch. Maneuvering through the rainwater quite difficult. And then, of course, the problems that will come with, of course, damage to vehicles. And so that's the challenge there at Spanner Junction early this morning when the rains came down. You can see how high the water level rose and the difficulty with which drivers had to maneuver their way through the rain waters. Now the threat also is that because the water levels are this high, the various gutters in the areas will be covered. And so for a new driver on the stretch, the possibility of you driving into a gutter or a ditch is very, very high. And so it will make sense for drivers to park and wait for water levels to recede. However, parking also comes with its own challenge because you are not sure whether to park in the middle of the road or find a better parking space along the road to park. And then, of course, the uncertainty with drivers behind you not knowing whether you've parked or you're moving, and so the danger of they driving into you also very high there. But you see in our shot the water levels around the Spanner Junction area where the overhead footbridge is close to Shangri-La. When you're moving to the airport area. Well, let's bring you a picture of Shangri-La itself and show you what it was there. So yes, you can see the gutters clearly choked and so spilling of water onto the main road. This is a mobile phone video, and so you can see there how the water is spilling onto the main road because the gutters there are choked and so unable to carry the water onwards. And so the best option is to spill onto the main roads. Now this clearly will cause vehicular traffic because maneuvering through such levels of water will be difficult for almost every driver. And then also there's the possibility of a breakdown of the vehicle as well. There's also the danger of driving into a gutter because the gutters are covered. And so it's a tough time or a difficult situation for both drivers and commuters, pedestrians alike, because you are not sure where the drains lie and of course where the potholes or the various holes on the main road are, and so it makes it difficult to ply the stretch. So this is actually the Shangri-La area and what it looked like early today during the rains that came down from about 5:30 a.m. and lasted for about an hour or so. We're going to go over the phone lines and speak to my colleague Fred Duho. He's joining us live actually from the Odawna area, and we will be seeing really what the situation is like there. So Fred, good morning. Good morning, Fred. Well, clearly he's in our shot. We see Fred there in our shot. Many thanks for joining us. This is Odawna, I believe. Tell us really how difficult it was for you as a person to get through to the spot that you are, and really what the challenge is for residents in the area. You would also be helping us understand what the water levels are, and of course how and what the difficulty is for residents in the area whenever it rains. So Fred Juo will be joining us shortly from the Odawna area where he is stationed, and of course reports that the flooding situation there is no different from other parts of the capital where we are recording flooding. Now we know the flood-prone areas, the Alajo area, the Kaneshi First Light area. We know of the Gifford Road. More recently, we're seeing the Shangri-la, Spanner Junction area. We're seeing the Shiashi area as well. Then, of course, we know the Obechebi Lamte roundabout area. We also know the Graphic Road situation. We know the Odawna, more especially the Sahara Park area, where at certain points we've had canoes coming to ferry people to safety. And so we'll be looking at all these areas and bring you a picture of what it looks like there. My colleagues or City News reporters are planted at various areas, some of these areas that I've mentioned to you, and they will be joining us either live or via telephone to give us an idea of what the situation is in these areas. So let's take you to Agbogbloshie now. These are pictures recorded from Agbogbloshie, and this is what it looked like around the Agbogbloshie area. I mean, several persons have attributed the situation to the construction works around the Obechebi, and then also there is the indiscriminate disposal of waste in the area, causing water levels to rise whenever it rains. You can also attribute it to the drainage system in the area. And so these are shots from the Agbogbloshie area, and that's the situation as you see it. Most drivers had to park and wait for water levels to recede before they could continue their journey, and this resulted in a very intense vehicular traffic. Now, we spoke to Ni Ama of the City Newsroom earlier, and he explained that just as you see in your shot, we had to take security men of the various companies, private security men of the various companies dotted along the stretch to help drivers make their way through the flood waters, because clearly they are within the area, and so they know the place, and they are able to show drivers where the various potholes are, where the gutters are, to help them keep safe on the stretch, owing to the fact that rainwater had collected on the main road, and of course making it difficult to navigate your way through the stretch. We spoke to some affected persons earlier within the Agbogbloshie enclave, and this is what they had to say.
From there, it has been flooded, and you see, if you throw your camera, you can see around. What is going on around is very bad. It's very, very, very bad against the nation. A city of Ghana, or let me say, a capital city of Accra. And you see what is going on is very, 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 very abhorrent. It's not good.
You say you fell into a gutter. Tell me what happened.
I fell in because the place has been flooded. So I was trying to find a way so that I can come here. But when I got to a place, I can't see nothing. So I fell into the gutter. I'm going to work. As for this place, if it's always rain, it's making full. But before I pass through inside, before, it's nearly my guest here. So I decided to go back. But right now, stay now. Then I want to go work. But right now, stay now. Here is going down. But as for the front of the college, that place big full. That's why I was standing here to wait until the time maybe we go down small.
So, but right now we are seeing just water ahead. A few people are walking through. Are you going to risk your life and go further?
That's why I was waiting for here. Maybe I'll check. Maybe if he can go down small, then I'll move up.
This is time when they start here, and then I want to make up.
If you bet, maybe 5 o'clock. Car planting me go motor for in a behind me.
In Tisiabe, the Omeko back and I now the same motor you call if you know.
So those were pictures from the Agbogbloshie area, and then of course you heard some of the affected persons. So one of them, of course, corroborating the issue I raised earlier with the danger of falling into either a gutter or a pothole, because the water has really covered all these, and you are not sure. I mean, if you are someone not from the area, not familiar with the road or the stretch, then you have difficulty navigating it, because there's the danger of you falling into a gutter or something else. And so really, that's the situation with Agbogbloshie. Other parts, I mean, of the capital are flooded, and we're just here to inform you or update you on the situation across board, so that you are better informed. If you're still home, that you know which roads to use in order to keep safe. We're going to Nungua now. Kojo joins us via telephone with some updates on the situation in Nungua. Good morning, Kojo, and many thanks for joining us. Hello, good morning, Kojo.
Good morning, sir.
Grateful. I hope you are safe and you're well.
We thank God, I'm safe.
Awesome. So tell us, what was it like this morning when the rains came down?
Frankly speaking, this is the first time I'm witnessing this thing in this area, because I'm in the area almost 15 years now.
Tell us exactly which area this is before you continue.
This is Nungua Coco Beach, close to Sango Beach area, the old Kasapreko. Yeah. The problem is that the main station Nungua road that they are constructing is the cause of this problem.
How so?
Because they say they close a bridge at the A-Life side. So that makes the water is not going through. The full area is full. As I'm talking to you right now, my room inside is full. Everybody, the whole area. Because water never entered my room inside before. Never. This is the first time.
Right. Well, are you able to save anything at all?
Please come again.
Were you able to save any property, or you lost everything to the water?
In my room, I saw it coming earlier, so I picked all my things up before the rain entered my room. So as for me, I didn't lose anything. My things are safe.
Right. Now, we've seen some persons being carried and, of course, through the water. How high did it rise?
Please come again.
How high did the water level rise?
I think it's up to my waist. Yeah, up to my waist.
The water came all the way up to your waist?
Yeah, if I'm inside the water, it's up to my waist down there.
Okay, so if you're inside the water, is it the water that came into your room or the water on the road? Which one rose higher?
It's the water, like when it was raining, it was passing, but like just in some few minutes when the rain stopped, and I'm about to even go to work because the rain has stopped, so I even just getting ready to go to work. And just in a few minutes, you can see the water turn red.
Okay.
Well, yeah, when it was raining, it would have like, I don't know how it's color, like I don't know how to explain the color, but if you normally when it's raining, the color, you can see the water inside. But this one, when the rain stops.
So has the water level receded, and are you guys safe to be able to go about your normal duties?
Yeah, right now it started moving. Right now they started moving, but yes, people have lost their sleep. Some walls has broken, so many houses have been flooded. So we are on it. Everybody is outside now. People are not staying in their homes. Everybody is outside in the day.
All right, all right. Thank you very much. That was Kojo, an affected person, telling us what the situation was like in the Teshi area, the old Kasapreko area, and of course attributing it to the construction of the main Teshi Nungua road. We're going live now to speak to Fred Duho, who is joining us from the Odawna area, and then of course we'll get to see what the situation is like in Odawna as we speak. Thank you very much for joining us, Fred. All right, we're still working the lines to get Fred Duho to join us and bring us a picture of the situation in the Odawna area. But clearly, after a few minutes of rain this morning, several parts of Accra have been left submerged, and we do not know how many times we're going to keep talking about the same issues, but of course, that is what we keep witnessing whenever the rains come down, even for a few minutes, and several parts of the capital and other parts of the country gets flooded. This mainly having to do with poor drainage systems, building on waterways, and of course indiscriminate disposal of waste, among several other factors. We've seen some persons persons in authority take some proactive measures. Just yesterday we saw the Gas Central Assembly moving to demolish some buildings on waterways just to make way for rainwater to flow whenever it rains. And then of course we've seen the Greater Accra Regional Minister himself also give some marching orders to the various municipal and metropolitan and district assemblies to take measures to remove structures on waterways in order to avoid flooding when it rains. But the problem persists, because as we are witnessing this morning, few hours or few minutes of rains, and several parts of the capital are left submerged. We're going, we have Fred now. Fred Duho is my colleague here in the City Newsroom, and he's joining us from Odawna. Good morning, Fred.
Good morning, Nana.
Grateful. Where exactly in Odawna are you? And of course, tell us the situation.
I am about 300 to 500 meters away from the Circle overpass, and not too far from the Odawna market as well. So where I stand now is more like a link road between the major road that is connecting to Accra and the Odawna market.
And what's the situation there? What have residents been telling you the place looked like when the rains came down?
Nana, we may have to start from the level where the water got to when it came in early this morning. And as you can see, where my finger is pointed, the mark is visible on this particular wall, almost above my waist. And that should tell you the level of the water this morning. So these homes or houses all around here were underwater this morning, but the owners and some residents here are saying that this is not the first time they are experiencing a situation like this. I would want to draw your attention to one quick thing before I move on, and that is some bag right here with waste in it, just in the water. Basically, it is because it was left here for the water to wash it away. It's been able to carry some away, but the rest is still in that bag. And we understand this is more like a hostel where students are lodging in. People are still in this particular house, but the owner or the caretaker here won't allow us to film the house. But the information I picked is that there are some students that are lodging here. The place is serving as a hostel where the students have been living here for some time now. Cinnamon, welcome to City News. What's your full name?
I'm Manasseh.
And for how long have you been living in this house?
I've been just this semester. We came here just this semester now.
But is this your first time experiencing this in the house?
Yeah, like I'm not here. I'm from Kumasi. Yeah.
Okay. And where do you school?
Yeah, I gained admission at Legon City Campus.
So you commute from here to that place every day. how many times is this situation occurring here?
This is my first experience here. Yeah, I'm a Kumasi boy, so I don't know for the flooding. Yeah, so like this is my first experience. It started and it was coming inside.
And when the water started coming in there, how did you feel about it and what did you do?
One girl have experienced this thing, so she told us that we should pack our things stuff. It's a story building, so we pack our things stuff. That's why. So that necessary things like laptop, TVs, and we rush and pack. Then it's entered.
Now, who owns this place and who is your landlord?
Like they normally call him honorable. We don't know whether he is a former assembly member or assemblyman. Like we call him honorable. That's why. I don't specifically know him as maybe he is like. But what they told me last time that he was an assemblyman for some community.
What are you going to do after today?
I have lectures from 10 o'clock to 12 o'clock, but because of this flood, maybe I cannot make it.
Well, so that's a gentleman who just spoke to us. The caretaker of this particular building won't allow him to speak for one obvious reason. The reason being that this particular house belongs to a former minister of state. And for that matter, they are not allowing them to speak. And that is the info we picked. Now, when we came here early this morning, the entire place was flooded. Due to the fact that the drainage system here is narrow and shallow, and the volume of water that came in couldn't really allow the water to the water that came in, actually the gutter was too small that it couldn't really accommodate it. There is this woman in this particular house, and this house as we stand here is still flooded and is flowing gradually out of the compound. The entire compound was underwater and is still underwater, I must say. The water entered various homes. The rooms were flooded. The woman is still waiting patiently. And we understand that when it happens like this, after some few minutes or hours, the water recedes. Then they are back to their normal duties. They feel it is a normal occurrence and something that they are used to. They are not even willing to speak to us. I am trying to see if I can get in to engage the owners of this particular house. And the water is still here, just trying to be careful so that it doesn't really disturb. But you can see a small boy in there. He's comfortable, feeling as though nothing has happened, and he's in the water. The sister is also there. They are not willing to actually be shown on TV. But this is the situation here as we speak, Nana. There is
Fred, we see the lady with her buckets. Do we know what she's doing? Is she fetching water from her room?
She's fetching water from the tap. From the tap, actually. Okay. As for the room, they are only waiting patiently for the water to recede because the water has finally found its way. Some have even pierced the wall, so the water is able to come out of the room onto the main compound and is making its way into the gutter that is here. So this is one particular compound that we've just shown you. We are moving to the next one, and there are houses that are more like adjacent to each other. They are connected in a way. So when it affects one, almost every house that is along this stretch is affected. There is another one that I just entered. There's a young man here trying to pack his things. I probably want to engage him. But before I engage him, I want the camera to show you what is down there. And that is one of the channels created for water to come out of the room. So this is a story building, and because they are aware of the situation, they've really prepared, and that is water flowing from someone's room, Nana, as you can see in your shot.
Right. Can we have the gentleman explain to us the reasoning behind this? Couldn't they have found another way to stop the water from entering the room in the first place, rather than having to create a channel through the wall for water to gush out from the rooms when it rains?
Yeah, gentlemen, welcome to City News.
Yes, thank you. Good afternoon.
What's your full name?
I'm Nicholas.
Why did you create that channel for the water to flow from your room?
Okay.
What's the purpose of that in particular?
Especially, as you can see, so that anytime the place got flooded, the water can pass through that place out.
What level did the water get to this morning?
Okay, as you can see me, I'm almost like 6.7 feet tall. If you stand in the middle of the house, it is somewhere around my shoulder.
That's quite scary. But what did you do when it came in?
What we could just do is like, apparently the water wasn't that so raining so very heavily. So when it happens that way, the best thing you could do is just to pack one or two serious belongings. But for your bed, your couch and stuff, you have to leave them. After the water comes and it's gone, you wash and dry them up.
Where did you pack the things to?
Some of the serious stuff, as you can see, because it's just a first floor story building, we pack some of the serious stuff, our clothes and stuffs up there. But the rest of them there, if you can enter the room, you can see them for yourself, And even some of them, even the water brought them out, as you can see.
One thing that we've observed is that there are a number of plastic here. Where is it coming from? Is it from your compound?
No, please. When it happens like that, every plastic waste that you see here comes outside, from outside to the house. But not, even though there are one or two, especially the buckets and stuff here, is for the house, but the mineral water, those kind of stuffs, and they come from outside. The water brought them in.
Is this building on waterway?
That's a serious question. To me, I think yes, it is. Because if this thing should be happening several times, from 1992, if I can recall, yes, this building is on the waterway.
What would you want the authorities to do about this?
I think people around that side, down from the main road, maybe even if from the Cumberland Hotel Road down here, if they can be compensated, at least be relocated to a different place. We have so many outskirt lands there. If they can be relocated to that place, at least a year or two notice, give them a place, they should some money, they should start a new project there. They can live there. So that all this place will be used as a drainage, so that all this flood will not be happening again. That will also be fine.
And when it happens like this, what do you hear from the authorities? Your MP, the MC, the NADMO, and stuff like that?
Sometimes, if I can remember, in 2015, when the June 3rd disaster happened, I came back from Ivory Coast and the same thing happened. NADMO came sharing food and stuff. Yes, we need it, but that is not so important that we should need. The serious thing should be done. If from 92 up to date, we are still experiencing things like this, then it looks like our authorities are not seriously working.
The authorities are not working. Would you also take part of this blame that you saw the place to be a marshy area, the place looks like a low-lying place, and your parents or probably whoever considered this place to be a building site came to erect this huge building here, and that is contributing to the problem? Would you admit to that?
Yes, I would. But if I should say this, the first person we should blame in this every situation that is happening is our town planning and council. Because if they really know all these things should be happening, or this is how the things should be happening, then I think they shouldn't even sell the place out in the first place. But as far as they've sold it out, somebody bought it. Relocating them to is another big issue. How are they going to change the environment, adjust to the new places? These are all things that we should be looking at. And to me, I think that it's high time we start respecting primary issues. If you don't respect primary issues, when they grow up to be secondary, tertiary issues, it go out of hand. So please, 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 these are some of the things I think the authorities should be looking at, especially with our new places that is being developed, especially with this Amasama, the Blow, those new sites. These are the things that they should be really looking at, so that if some of us can move away from here. As you can see, there's a building right in front of me now, and this building, the government cannot, repay the person for you to demolish this place to be a waterway. So these are the things that we should be taking care of, and it's very serious. It's very, very serious.
Now, you've preferred some interesting solutions to the effect that they have to demolish buildings and then make way for the water to flow anytime it rains. Would you agree, should the town and country planners come here, the AMA, the Regional Coordinating Council come here with any earth-moving machine to demolish this building after the said notice you said they should give you, wouldn't you still be up in arms against them?
To be very honest with you, it's a serious measure they should take. A 2 years notice, if you have given me whatever I need to start a new place, a 2 years notice is okay for me to move out of here. If whatever you've given me is also good for me to move, to relocate to a new place, then giving me 2 years notice. Yes, you don't even need any military person or police to be around. At least you have to just come. If you're giving me 2 years to move, you've given me money, a plot of land to move, I have to, because I know it is serious if for individuals, maybe we understanding some things like this. It's so difficult, but for 2 years notice, it's fine. They should,
I think we've had some great conversation with the gentleman here, and probably want to see your room. If you can lead us, would you be able to lead us to your room?
If you don't mind, if your shoes and stuff.
That is what we are looking at. What stage has it got into now? What level now?
Oh, let me see.
If you can lead, maybe we can follow you if it's not that risky. So, Nana, that is the situation in this particular house. They have been able to salvage some of their belongings. They've moved it to the top floor. And then, so I am following him while my man is behind trying to film whatever we get. So, I am going in there and probably to see how the situation looks like. So, Nana, that is it.
Right, we're still with you. We're looking to see how high the water levels are as at now, because from the conversation with the gentleman earlier, he did mention that it came all the way up to his shoulder level. And so what we are seeing now is the water having receded, but even that, it is still quite at a high level. So this is the Odawna area, circle area, where we're seeing water levels rising that high. And of course, the concerns being raised by the individuals who have spoken to us. In your shot there, there's a channel
Nana,
that has been
we're
created
making a move
for water to flow out of the
in
roof.
there, trying to see how the situation looks like, and I have to tiptoe. So,
well, keep safe. Keep safe.
The water
Fred.
is in there. Yes. The water is in there. People are here. It's in. I mean, so Nana, the situation here is some way. The entire compound.
The entire compound is flooded.
The entire compound is flooded.
And we can see that as you continue to move, the water also is getting higher as you move. Now
exactly the case, because I mean it's sloped.
Right.
Okay. The place was sloped, so that is why.
And so the further you go, the higher the water level.
Exactly the case.
So I can see that your boots are totally submerged now.
Totally submerged. So that is it. Plastic waste everywhere, and then the entire house is flooded.
Can you find out from the gentleman if there are other residents in the house and where they are now?
Yes, I saw some gentlemen in the house, some other people in the house who came out of their room and they are sitting outside on the how do you call it there? The porch. The porch is a bit taller. Okay, the porch is a bit taller, so some have moved out of their room and they are on the porch waiting patiently for the water to recede. So you can see the drainage is quite small here. We are out of that particular compound. Then that is what they are calling on the authorities to expand. And when it is expanded, that would really solve this situation here on the here at Odawna.
No, so behind you we see what is it, a public bath house or public place of convenience. Are there any challenges with respect to that?
Come again, Nana.
Behind you, we're seeing a public bathroom or a public bathhouse or place of convenience. Are there any challenges with respect to that? Or are they on a higher land and so they do not suffer the same fate as the buildings opposite them?
They are on a higher land. Even the water got there, but some few minutes ago, they cleared that place. They actually have to flush the mud that the water brought to that particular premises. So that entire place now is tidy and people are making use of it. And when they bath, I see that they've connected their PVC pipe to the gutter and the water comes directly into the gutter here. So that particular place is safe. The number of stores that I see here that are closed actually, that is one thing that I observed. The water has entered, but it has since receded. One woman I spoke to raised concern about the fact that their member of parliament, Zaneto Rawlings, comes around when situations like this happen, and after taking pictures and videos, nothing is done about the situation, and something they really feel the authorities, the MP, the MCEs, and the relevant agencies put their forces together to find some lasting solution to this. The gentleman we spoke to earlier mentioned that they would agree to any terms and conditions for them to relocate from this place. The fact that if they are given prior notice about 2 years and they are relocated to a higher ground, their needs provided, even if it's going to be a temporal tent or some form of accommodation where they can
Fred,
be there while this entire place is redemarcated and replanted. That is something they will be glad to see in the near future.
Right, we see some gentlemen picking stuff out of the drains, and also earlier behind you I saw someone scooping water. Can you tell us really what is going on now?
Yeah, so the water has receded and they are basically picking some of the debris that the water came with. So in effect, they are only ensuring that they pick out some of the things that are unable to move with the flood into the bigger drainage system to make way for the water to flow. So even though the water has receded, you will see that down there, the drainage or there is a culvert or a bridge that has been constructed to cover this whole gutter. And that is also another challenge. So where the gentleman stand to his waist should have been the depth of the gutter or the drainage system here. But because at the end of it is being covered with concrete, that is how come the water is unable to flow easily. So it hits that wall, bounce back, and then get this entire place flooded. So they are now basically picking the plastic out, making sure that the debris is removed for the water to flow easily. And that is what they are volunteered to do here.
So clearly a low-lying area, and so if water to flow from the top and it gets here and then the drainage is blocked, then of course it will spill onto the road and flood the various properties around. Is that the situation?
Exactly the situation, Nana.
So these gentlemen have, these are what, residents of the area who have taken it upon themselves to clear the gutters so the water can flow freely?
That is what they are doing. They are putting their efforts together to ensure that the plastic, and you know, the single-use plastics are quite many, that they have no option. Unfortunately, they are using their bare hands to do what they are doing, knowing the implication after the flood. We talk about cholera, other form of sickness or diseases that move with this kind of flood. So using his bare hand to do that is something I really worry about. But he's not really perturbed. He's just focusing on ensuring that all the plastic that is preventing the water from flowing comes out for the water to flow easily.
We see some people around. We see some vehicles parked as well. And then I'm not sure what's behind you. Is that more like a charcoal factory or something? But how busy is the area, and how affected are these other persons?
So what you see is the charcoal that is packed there by traders. And the entire place actually is the Odawna market. Right. So the market is just ahead, some 20 to 50 meters away. And market women are going about their duty. Previously, when the water came in, they were unable to set up to trade. But now that the water has receded, they've now gone back to their usual business, and they are basically back to sell whatever they have to the public. So the entire place is a market. Charcoal, you can see everything you want to buy from the Odawna market, they are all here. The women are back to the market. Everything you need from a market you would find in this particular Odawna market. So they are just going about their duty. Someone has also set up an eatery joint here, and they've started cooking and preparing meal for the public to consume after the flood. So the flood got to their premises, but they are able to now bounce back to do their business. So we've just walked into the market for you to have a fair view of how the Odawna market looks like. So if you got the picture I painted for you early from the start, where I showed you the level of the water beyond my waist, and this particular place, you should imagine what really happened here some few hours ago. The entire place was flooded. The market was actually underwater, but as we speak, the water has receded. People are cooking, placing it by the roadside to sell, and the market goes as far as the other end. Probably I would want to talk to some of the women here to see if they will be willing to speak to us. Hello, ma. Good morning. Okay, so they are not willing to talk to us. Hello, ma. Good morning. Mpacho, yankasa kakra. Mpacho odindi se.
Mpacho mde retaocho.
Tembe na obaha.
Yadi wada dado. Since for time. Ne wo ha yo wada dada kra.
Anopa we tembe na obaha.
Anopa okay bedu abe 7 o'clock.
Now by no, how was the situation?
Ensuo ne wo ha no nyina atwekọ nyina di nsuo. They had a problem pa nyina nsuo nso to they had a problem pa.
Who problem better?
Don't say because of the gutter and nsuo ne to eba ha be say niema. What you are saying yeah to rubber sisi obu onu ma ne niema nkitinkitin nsuo timi se no wo ho ye betwitwi ho na bi wa ase na o se ekotugu ni nyina ye ka. They say sika su ni ho no. Enti the can say gata na ebe ye ne ye se be ya nsuo to ma ha no ma eno so wo ho no because ha say no so gata we so no problem ensuo ne to ne yira eba ha no be say ye niema enti problem dey obi wa pa enti mo hwe na mo nyema yen.
Well, Nana, so that is one of the traders who just spoke to us. She's essentially saying that the water came here before she got here, and she got here around 7 a.m. And the fact that the main problem or the major problem here has to do with the drainage system, and the water flows to the main gutter because it's unable to make its way through the gutter. It overflows its borders, then comes into their stores, and that is the situation here. Openyi, good morning all. My name is Fred. What's your name?
My name is Samuel Sale. Where I speak tree.
Okay. Na tembe na oba say.
She say na ba o. Fi ba ni o say suna yiru hapa. A obi a pack do na makura.
Ya wo ye den port wo ha say.
Oh, ya batoto na ma ha. But ye ba ni the way suna yiru han time ma pack do mani na kura.
Na for how long have you been living in this area?
This area? Yeah, I don't know, Mom.
Okay, Nana. So I think the gentleman just came here to buy one or two stuff, and he came to meet the situation, a situation that he's also saying that has been happening over time, but nothing seems to be done about it.
Right.
There are some
so clearly,
stores
once
here
the
that the
traders
water
are
is here
affected,
to
the
recede.
customers are also affected.
Yes, and that is the situation here. Luckily for them, these are not perishable goods, I must say. These are plastic products they are selling. Most of them are selling plastic products. So the water actually entered, but they will be able to
Wash them off.
see, they will be able to get whatever is left. Their items, their materials, their wares that they've put up for sale are all here. So you see this particular plastic one, the water got to this level. So that should tell you that the water entered this
The
particular store. But at least this is something that they are able to maintain because they are plastic. Plastic has nothing really to do with water, so they are comfortable. If it has been rice or any food stuff, that would have been, serious situation they have been dealing with at this moment. But for them, they are a bit okay because they are selling plastic materials.
Right now, Fred, clearly the market itself has also been affected. If you're able to engage some more people, let's find out how much work they've had to do this morning and how that will be impacting the business of the day.
Here is a woman also trying to clear the front view of her shop, and she's trying to sweep the mud from the front view to probably set up to trade. Ma, good morning. Mpacho, within this,
Mpacho me di adwa.
Mpacho time ben obaze.
Ibedru ya be 6:30.
Now, how frequent are nyama way to me see?
Me pacho me be fa na ma wa henti me nim hasem ti gisem busa wo mo wa ha da bia.
Oh, okay. So she said she's actually here to pick materials or some items to go and sell. She's not one of those people who are frequent
Actually work or trade there.
Probably working or trading here frequently as the others would do. So she just came briefly, and she also came to meet the situation. So she's only helping with the gentleman to clear the front of his shop. And you can see the middle of this particular market. We have people having their shops, and the shops are also numbered. We have washrooms also in here, and almost all the shops look like container shops, metal shops, things that can really be moved at a particular point in time, and they do pay for these shops as well. I am trying to see if I can.
It looks as though most of the shops are closed.
Engage. Yes, because of the rain, most of them didn't come here today. The very few that came are only trying to be sure that their products are safe. But Nana, the worrying situation, the most worrying situation has to do with the plastics.
Are these plastics that have been
here.
washed out of shops, or this is just waste that has been carried here by the rainwater?
This is plastic carried by the rainwater. From what I see, these are not plastic that are put up for sale. You see the sachet, you see the drinking, the mineral water plastic bottles. You would see the polythene. You would see the takeaway bag, the one that they normally serve food in. They are just here, and the entire place look choked with.
But some also look like rubbish that has been dumped.
That is the situation. That's the most worrying situation here, Nana. The entire place looks like more like a place designated for rubbish, but that is not really it. It is just because of the flood that occurred some few hours ago that came with all these plastic bags that you see. So the plastic situation they are also worried about it. People are expressing worry, and what they say is that they believe there should be some form of change in attitude, where either we take that deliberate action by banning single-use plastic, or we keep facing this issue. One gentleman told me that if we won't ban the single-use plastic, we should be sure that any company in this country that produces any form of plastic should be taxed in a way that they will be able to clear their environment, or they should join forces with citizens to do some cleanup exercise every weekend. And that is his suggestion. And he was also proposing that they should be taxed heavily so that their money goes in clearing this plastic waste from time to time in the country. So people really have concerns and they are expressing worry. What I see mainly in the market is plastic. So I want to believe and generalize and probably draw that conclusion that most of the shops here are selling plastic materials. Bucket, you come here, you would see bowls, you would see a number of things that we use at home that are made of plastic. That is what they are selling here. So the situation is something that they all believe that we can join hands to make sure.
But Fred, do you see any drains in the market, and in what state are these drains?
So we are trying to make our way to the big gutter to see how the situation looks like. And that is how come. And the women are saying that anytime the situation dies down, that is when we come with our cameras and they are expressing, Ma, good morning. Me didn't Fred, Udi.
Me de dina.
Na tembe na ubaha no power.
Oh, me de me pra na me wo fie na me do. We na me frɛ me baba akubisa nse nso na ayeden wa ha. Me ba ya nso na yiri ama wuntimi emma inside. Enye easy. Na da bia Odawna ha ye problem ba ko pe ni nso yi. Omo be ya amaye no, omo nya amaye o. Da bia afi no bedu na the same thing. Be 1 month na ka ya bo wodwa we munya ka keto a. Ena nna nso we de nso na asan aye wo ha. Ko hwe kire wo de ho no mu nyina aye. Nti atwetwe ye na ya ba ye hohoro. Aha no ateche no.
Mpacho painty picture my like Odawna market e dey port na ya moton o ha.
Oh, Odawna market there ye two plastic say factories ni ye brand ya. Ye na ye distribute to them amanfo no mo beto ekoton no outside 1111.
Na ye see plastic no so ka ho bi e na e ma se nsuo ni yire sa na eni kwan ha e choki gata no de na wo fa.
Oh, yeah, plastic yi there. So wa say there etie no. Na plastic na ema gates ni choke ni ye rubbers. We no na dey say dey ton koko rubber bag ni ade no na e choke but nyame hu ne say first no minim no me mani ba fi a me be nyi no me hu say na tankers e wo ho no mo a omo prapra krom na say zoom lion ye hu zoom lion bia enti bola na ados wo krom na gata kese we no nso omo ntim a anka nso no betimi aflow bet omo ntim nti enso ni flow na mo de a plastic na plastic we de be na etimi choku gatas enso omo pra krom na nipa bebre nso ye de na nya bola enye nwira bet enua na tonfo ne omo use rubber we na na choki gata na ba say ade a omo yim gatas mu a ngenso to ntimi choki sa nti aban na mu aye na omo ma krom nye clean kakra man
De na u pese omo ye fa sa rubber ni like plastic na omo di ton koko ni nyama no aban pese omo bani a mu bepini.
Oh, sesi ano se adwuma nhyɛ da no krom na akoye bebre business a omo ye enti sa aban betimi ama enwuma aba krom kakra ana say rubber no se first na ye use papers nti paper de hu se so topekra ehono and no beja and you use rubber. No, it is obey me ama nyuma ba because I say ukase wo bandi obi a. E obi so big business pa oyo. E no so mu betu. Ekokoton.
Ye di mu business chirisa na ekromuni se na mu fe.
Ese ekromuni se ya se de anya ye mfe no sa na ese aman so o provide adwuma. Ama ni penya bi ye because wo ma obi adwuma nye ye. Nti ono so fi se adwuma o ye anu so ebeboa no no e na o ye. Nti e ba na sa na se ekoso sa na je se nzo no ta ye nyina bre na ye bebre. Nti ese adwuma bakrom da wetimi abande obi adwuma na adwuma ni wona asa me na meton sa roba na o ka jem se minya ya aban na obaba behwe me ana mba ba misika ma me de ayewe aye adwuma nti mo ma adwuma mra ansa wetimi abande bi.
Well, thank you very much, ma. So you heard from the woman who is suggesting that government should provide other alternative for those who normally make use of the single-use plastics, and the companies that produce them, they should make some other alternatives available, like the production of paper bags. So that would rather decompose or decay anytime it rains, and something that will really pose a challenge to people's businesses, and a situation they believe that wouldn't really augur well for the nation, looking at the unemployment rate in the nation. So Nana, people are really concerned about the continuous use of single-use plastic, and that they feel something must be done, but other alternatives must be provided. I am making my way to the station here at Circle to see if we can get to the Odawna drainage system, the bigger one that is just right at the back here, for us to see how that particular place looks like. But the entire place is littered with so much garbage.
Well, so now you are out of the market.
There now. No.
Now you're out of the market, and so I see. Is this some sort of a lorry station? And what does the place look like just before you go to the gutter?
Nana, come again.
I'm asking that once you come out of the market, you go into a space that looks like a lorry station. What is the situation there just before you tell us about the gutter?
So that is a lorry station that is closer to Circle, and for vehicles moving to various locations. And then the fact that the drivers, they've just parked their buses and waiting for passengers to come. But as it stands now, they are just attending to their car. I see a number of garbage moving vehicles that normally cut garbage from various homes. Two of them parked here, and they are not attended to, and leaving those garbage to also spread at the station. No one seems to be concerned about it. We have finally gotten to the main outdoor drainage, and that is Circle in your short, the overpass. And we see people going about their duty. Here also, the water has receded, and that is how come you are able to see that there is a drainage system here. But early this morning, the entire place got flooded to the extent that it buried the drainage system, and you won't really notice easily that there is this huge drainage system here. So the water is flowing in this particular drain all the way into the sea, and is moving with it is the plastic on the surface. You see them moving, and it's quite pathetic, I would say, Nana.
Okay, so in our shot now is the Odo. We understand some dredging works have been done there, but clearly, judging from the water levels as we see in our shot, and of course the amount of waste we are seeing on the surface of the water, it is difficult to confirm this. But also it looks as though this is what may have overflown and of course flooded the market and the other areas closer to the Odo. Really, what is the danger? Because I see some persons walking around there, and people also carrying out other businesses close to the Odo.
Nana, a number of people are moving about. The gentlemen you see in your shot, they are actually moving at the edge of these drains, and then they are not really perturbed as to whether they will fall in it. They are just taking the risk and walking freely. And I would say that the dredging that was done some time back could equally contribute to the rapid receding of the water anytime it floods the community. If not for that, the water would have stayed a bit longer in these communities before it finally recedes. But this one, for the next 1 hour or two, the water that gathers in the community actually recedes so fast, and people have their own shops, their places of abode. They are there and residing along the Odo without any worry. I see people bring out their mattresses to dry on a particular bench over there and probably waiting patiently for the sunshine. And when it dries, they move it in to those particular kiosks to continue with their daily life. So the Odo drain here is of a big help, but until we are all sure to probably reconstruct it properly, put in some engineering works that would probably account for a long-term solution to the flooding we see within the Adabraka enclave, I think we are going to deal with the flooding situation for quite a long time. Because if not for this particular drainage, the situation would be, disastrous. Just like the June 3rd disaster that we all keep making reference to, if not for the fact that certain things of that nature happened for authorities to take up the initiative to dredge the Odo, I think the situation as we see it now would have been a bit devastating than we witnessed in recent times anytime there is a downpour.
All right, thank you, Fred Duho. Most grateful. We'll be coming back to you for some more updates as you carry along. But torrential rains this morning have left parts of Accra flooded. Some of these areas, Dakuman, Kaneshie, Achimota, Teshi, the Odawna area, just as Fred Duho has been reporting to us. One of the affected areas also has been the Graphic Road, Obechebi, Agbogbloshie stretch. My colleague Ni Ama was there earlier. He now joins me in studio to bring us some more details of the pictures we saw earlier. Thank you for joining us, Ni.
You're welcome, Nana.
I see you're here in your boots.
It's been a hectic morning, quite unexpected, because I was just coming to work, doing a few rounds around the Agbogbloshie area. Right. And even on my way to work, it had begun to rain, but it wasn't that serious. So I thought, well, I could finish up and then get to this place, only to know that, or only for things to turn out that I'll be in flood waters for about 2 to 3 hours before finally making it. But the Agbogbloshie area was quite hit by the devastation this morning. So if you look at the main Agbogbloshie stretch, so assuming you're coming from the they're coming from the Mortuary Road before you get to the Obechebi Lamte runabout, that's now being turned into an interchange. So right before that runabout stroke interchange now.
The same stretch that has the ICGC?
Yes, that has the ICGC Christ Temple or their headquarters, former headquarters. So you're going towards the Agbogbloshie market itself. Now, the water took over about 60% of that road. So at the intersection, before you get to Agbogbloshie market, the whole place was flooded. Now there are several people, several market women, shop owners, trotro drivers, taxi drivers who are trying to make their way to the market, but all that didn't happen because the water was that high. And especially the Okada riders, because you know that area, a lot of people sit on the motorbike to make it to their destination. So as for them, they couldn't do anything. So there are so many Okada riders parked at the tip of the flood water because they couldn't enter because the water could come as high as your knee level, and that would disrupt a lot of things. Now there are women who were carrying their fruits and other wares, kayaye, who were going to work, and they were just stranded because the water wasn't moving anywhere. Now, another issue was that there were a lot of people doing U-turn because even I myself, I felt I could go through that water. But when I got to the tip of it, I realized that no, it
was too high.
It
was going to mess up your engine.
Yeah, so I turned back and went to park, and now I began to go on foot to check out what is happening. So there were so many cars that were turning around, going back towards the mortuary road, and perhaps they felt they could get more luck if they go to the Obetchebi Lamte interchange area. So that's if you are going to Agbogbloshie Market, no way. There's a turn on your left-hand side, which will take you. There are two roads there, which would finally come and link you to the graphic road once again at the Beyeman Cold Store. So the first one, so this is me at the edge of, or the beginning of the Agbogbloshie Market Road.
Right.
I go straight, I realize that no, there's no way. So first turn on my left, I could use that side to get back onto the graphic road and make my way to work. Now I'm on that stretch, so many cars totally flooded. Totally flooded. The first road on my right, which there's a number of companies there, a lot of it's sort of an industrial area. So you have Pepsi, you have Japan Motors, you have the Francopat Cold Store. There are several other companies. So that first road was completely submerged. Nobody was going, nobody was coming. Only the bravest of brave people, like one or two motor riders, the huge cars could use that stretch, so because that one was completely condemned.
Even that, how easy or difficult was it?
It was very difficult because you see, there are open drains on two sides of the road, and already on that particular road, the huge trucks, because I said there are huge companies, industrial companies there, they had already parked on one side of the road. So even on a normal day, you are contending with just half of the road, and now that half of the road, and mind you, that particular road also has a drainage problem every day. So there's already water overflowing the drain on that side of the road, and now there's flood. So you can't see anything, completely submerged. The people who are around, the security men of these companies who are turning themselves into guards or guides to help people either sail through the water if they were too stubborn to turn around and go back, or actually telling people that you can't make it, so just find somewhere else or wait. So they had told me that there are several cars that had already falling into the gutters over there, and so practically nobody was using that stretch.
Right.
So away from that, we are coming towards Francopat to take a turn to Japan Motors, and then finally you could come back to the graphic road. Now, also at that turn, complete water. Cars also turning around once again, several commuters, because the water is that bad that you might not be able to even walk through it. I had the chance because I was wearing my boots, but for the regular person who was going to work or was going to do something at that company on that road, there was no way. That road has already become sport, let me put it that way, because apparently it always gets flooded. So you know, when you construct a road and there's always water on it, the potholes just keep getting bigger and bigger. Also, this road has two open drains on each side, so it was hectic for people.
But there's that danger of falling into the drain.
So either you fall into a pothole, which could make the water level beneath your engine just tip a little bit, and then that's where everything goes downhill, or you could actually get into the danger of falling into the gutter, and then that will be it for you. So those scenes, for like a good 30 to 45 minutes, I couldn't get closer to where the main where the flood water was very high. But after about 30-40 minutes, I took the courage to walk through and see for myself, because at that time the security men who were closer to me were saying that nobody could go there, and clearly you could see that nobody could go there. So after a while, I went and entered the flood water. It was I was wearing boots, but the water could get into my boots,
the boots
at this point. So and that's why I see that, wow, this place is really for the bravest of the brave. There was a car that had broken down in that side. I saw a gentleman who was walking towards that place, and then he quickly turned back. He was like, no, we can't do this anymore. So bad on that side. And now there's the Francopat cold store, which is technically just at the tip of the Graphic Road if you're coming from Kanishi after the interchange. Opposite the former MTN building. So there I realized that there were a lot of their workers who were brushing the water off the compound. And so I spoke to the sales manager at the place, who said that a few hours ago there was no dry land on that compound. Everywhere was flooded.
This is Francopat.
This Francopat, the company itself. And it's a huge compound. It's a huge compound. So he said, and the company itself has the cold store section of it is about 3 or 4 meters above ground. So he said that the water was so much that it was just at the tip to enter into the cold store.
Just the fridges.
The fridge itself. So he said he has been there for 20 years and it happens every year. It just keeps getting worse year after year. He said about 3 weeks ago when it rained, it also came to that level. So that was the situation there. He had to get his men to brush the water away. And you see, the issue is that behind the company is a lower lying ground, and then so it's bounded on the left-hand side by the Graphic Road itself, which is a little higher up, and then behind it is the Fadama Road, which is lower. So when the flood comes from the Graphic Road, it just seeps through their compound and ends up in the flood water that I just walked through to enter the company. So he said that's what has been happening every time. So at this point, the water had receded from the compound and it was all on the road that I was speaking to you about a few minutes ago. So, and just at the tip too, you could see his men now having to dig up the silt that came with the water. And now these men were really unhappy because they tell me that it is the construction that's going on at the Odawna roundabout stroke interchange that has caused this, because clearly there's a big drain around that area, but due to the obstructions to the construction or to the drain, the water or that drain has become a little bit affected. So the volume has shrunk and there's so much activity going on. So he says that the silt from the materials that this company is using, it's all seeping into their company. So they were literally with shovels and wheelbarrows, filling wheelbarrows full of sand or silt, which was in there a few hours ago before the rain. So they were really, really unhappy. And then the traffic too was building up. Thankfully, about an hour or two ago, it had begun to ease up because the main flooding, as I said, had seeped through the company to the road behind the company. So there's a little bit more free movement. Just on my way here, I could say that the traffic had reduced by about 60 to 70%. So that was the situation there.
And water levels have receded now as we speak.
Yes, water levels has receded, especially on the Accra-bound side of the Graphic Road. So if you are going towards Accra National Theatre, the Graphic newspaper itself, Accra Buoys, all of those places are quite dry. And then at that point, it was rather the side that was coming to Kanishi that had a little bit of water on it. But even with that, you could easily drive through comfortably.
Right. Were you able to assess the Odawna roundabout itself, and what was the situation there?
Well, I couldn't go that far because of the situation at the earlier point there. But even from as far as my eyes could see, there was still water in that area, because you see that when there's a lot of water somewhere and cars are coming, you see the splash on the sides of the car. So I could still see that. But by the time I was leaving, that was about 30 minutes ago, I realized that I wasn't seeing that much splash coming from the sides of the car. So in my estimation, I'll say that the water level at the interchange itself has also gone down.
That area houses a number of companies, and we know especially some of these car showrooms, these auto showrooms and all that. And over the years, we know the concerns or the situation they are plunged into whenever the rains come. Did you get that sense today as well?
Well, I didn't use that road myself because there was too much traffic for me. So I ended up using the other road. But the concerns, even from Francopat, who is just at the tip of it,
of Graphic Road,
of Graphic Road, seem to would go over to all of the companies that are on that stretch. I mean, we've done several reports in the past where the showroom, Japan Motors, Nissan, I mean, a number of them all flooded to the brim. So it seems like the same situation this time around, where the water would enter into their company. So I even asked the sales manager at Francopat that, I mean, over the years, have they had anybody from the Assembly or NADMO or Ministry of Works and Housing coming? They said no, nobody ever comes around. All they rather get is their tickets to come and pay their taxes and bills and stuff like that. But when it rains, they're always left to their fate. And this has been the story of people that live or people that work or have companies or offices on the ring road. There are so many people who would have to find shelter in a place close by because their office has been flooded. And even at Francopat, they have an administration building, which he said just 3 weeks ago, their laptops, their machines, their furniture was all damaged because the water had come through. That building is actually slightly lower than the main building that houses the cold store. So if the compound gets flooded, clearly all of that water is entering into that building. And so if you are to go to everybody that works down that line and they are going to begin to count their losses over the years, we might actually be surprised because it happens every year. The drains are not big enough to carry the water. Just a few meters ahead to the Odo drain, the notorious Odo drain also passes through to Agbogbloshie. So whilst there's water collecting from the Obetchebi-Lamte side onto the road, there's also the overflow from the Odo River. So really, those companies are in the middle. And there's nowhere to hide. Water coming from the left to the right. So it explains why we always see the flooding on that stretch.
Area. Right. Now, I mean, if the Obetchebi area suffers this, then clearly there will be a spill-off going all the way to Kandishi First Light. And so it is expected that along the entire stretch, there will be some difficulty with respect to vehicular movement and all that. But then also there are other roads that lead into several communities or several areas around the stretch. On your way here, what did you see and what can you tell us?
Well, so getting onto the Graphic Road, it was dry and there was not water on it. And then I took a left into Adabaka just before you get to the Graphic Communication Building. The traffic light there that brings you into Adabaka was also quite dry, going through the community, even going on the road right before the Sahara Desert.
Yeah, the Sahara Park.
Yeah. Park, let me put it that way. Yes, that road was also quite dry. Yeah, I mean, there are a few puddles of water because of the potholes on that road, but it was quite dry and more trouble. So I would say that generally the water has receded quite nicely, and hopefully people will be able to get back to their daily movement and activities.
Right, thank you very much. Nyama Ama, my colleague here at the City Newsroom, bringing us updates on the situation from the Obetchebi runabout to Agbogbloshie on the Graphic Road and other surrounding areas. In the enclave that houses most of these companies, and what it looked like there in the early hours of Tuesday when the rains did come down, and of course what the situation is now as he has been able to move through the intense traffic situation there, navigate his way all the way through the office. He's still in studio with us. We'll be engaging him some more, but then of course torrential rains this morning have left several parts of the capital flooded and of course created some difficulty. Workers are struggling to go to work, school children struggling to go to school, vehicles struggling to maneuver or navigate roads that have been left submerged, and of course some affected persons in their homes really not being able to move out or to stay in the water, but rather left to stay and wait for water levels to recede, and of course before they can salvage whatever is left of their property. Earlier we saw Fred Duho bringing us live pictures from the Odawna area, where several compounds have been submerged and residents in there have had to move their property onto higher grounds, or in some cases or instances where they have story buildings, have to move their property onto the first floor, second floors, to keep these properties safe and sound. Kennedy Chumesi is joining us now. He will also be giving us some updates with respect to the flooding situation. Thank you, Kennedy, and a good afternoon to you. Hello, Kennedy. Kennedy Chumesi will be joining us to bring us up to speed with the situation from where he will be reporting as to the issue of flooding. We're giving you a special program or a special coverage of the flooding situation in Accra after several hours of rain this morning, just to keep you informed and updated on what it is or what it looks like after the rains, so you can also make a proper decision on which roads to use or not to use, and of course how to keep safe. We're still working the lines to get Kennedy Chumesi to bring us some updates from his area, but clearly parts of Accra have been left submerged after the rains came down this morning, of course creating some vehicular traffic, leaving some persons also stranded, some school children having difficulty going to school, and of course workers having difficulty going to work as well. And so that's the situation we are contending with, a perennial situation. Of course, we've seen some moves by authorities to dredge or to silt the Odo to bring some sanity to Accra when it rains, but clearly there's more work to be done. Let's go back on the lines. This time hopefully we have Kennedy Chumesi, my colleague here at the city newsroom, joining us from the La area. Kennedy, thank you for joining us.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Grateful. Now tell us exactly where you are and then paint us a picture of what's happening there.
Okay, so currently I am when you're coming from the Labadi Beach Hotel, there is a bridge after Labadi Beach Hotel. It's for the safety bridge. And residents, when you go to the pool, people around here who saw the situation that happened earlier in the morning, and they are describing the situation to me that it was an eyesore, and the rains have found their way into a particular part of the bridge, which is gradually leading to some part of the road which is closer to the bridge, caving in. So I have one of the residents here, and who is speaking to, I was speaking to him to give us more perspective as to what the situation was earlier. Then we can continue from there.
Right, please go ahead.
All right. Hello. Good afternoon. Welcome to the studio.
Good afternoon. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. What's your name?
My name is Francisco Asamoah.
And you are the?
I'm the resident associate chairman for Greenfield Research Space.
Okay. So paint the picture for us.
So this morning, around 6 o'clock, I realized that the water was building up. So it's an extensive flood, which has never happened in 23 years of my stay in the area. And we're shocked because it has never happened like that. So we're trying to find out the source of the problem. And then we're told that it has to do with the bridge they are constructing on the Perennial bridge. And so we have to move on there. When I realized that was the issue. And the account shows that they have actually blocked part of the bridge, and the water was not going into the sea. Usually when it rains, all the water from Accra comes through down and enter through the Perennial and then move on to the sea. And if that happens smoothly, there's no flooding in the area. But this particular time, they have blocked part of the bridge because of the construction they are doing. As a result, there's excessive flooding everywhere. And it's not only flooding, it's part of the flooding because there are snakes and reptiles in inside the mangrove. There are snakes all over the water, and the residents are displaced, and they are traumatized. Myself, I'm now looking for work because of the snakes, which is not too well. Over the years, anytime there seems to be a flood there, they blame the residents that they are the cause of the flood. And we keep on telling them that the problem we have in this area, it is not human problem, it's an engineer problem. And we need engineer solutions to solve the problem. And I'm happy today we have realized that it is as a result of engineering failure. It is raining. We want to do construction of a bridge. You understand? If the rain has continued for 8 hours, I don't know what we have lost lives, we have lost property, and we'll be blamed that we are causing it, and which is not too good. And I want the Minister of Roads and Transport to talk to the engineer that the work is doing, we are happy, but it should plan the work effectively so that the work is done, so that it doesn't create nuisance the people is trying to help. And for me, it's not the best. And then also the work they are doing, I don't know why they are in haste in getting the job done. Everything seems to be in haste, and I'm not sure that the quality of the work will be realized in the long term.
And so, just in the picture, as you made mention that the assembly always blames you, the residents, that you are the ones who make this class happen because you don't keep the environment tidy, you throw rubbish into drains. Is that a situation?
Well, see, there are settlements off there, and sometimes with the settlements there are nuisance that people create, but that is not the major issue. Well, if there are drains and it rains, the water will pass to the rain, and if there's a lodging point of the rain where the rain can be discharged, there will not be issue of flood. You understand? All the problem we have, being human factor, there must be engineering solutions to solve those problems. It is not about talk. It's not about taking and trench position to say that it is somebody who is doing it. Let all of us collaborate and find useful solutions to our problem. And we don't blame anybody for the problem.
Sure. So your issue basically is about the engineering.
Yes. I am happy today that for once we will not be blamed that we are causing the flooding there. The flooding was caused purely because of the work we were doing here. And this has vindicated us that it is not about we creating mess there. It's about the fact that the authorities are not helping us to solve the problems we have. There's no drain there.
But it also mentions that you build on waterways as well.
Well,
what do you make of that?
Okay, so the other places are flooded. Fairfax got flooded. Achimota got flooded. Okay. Kanesi got flooded. They don't also build a waterway. Yeah. It is not about waterway matter. It's about finding solutions to problems. And as a country, if we don't find solutions to our problem, we blame individuals for the problem, we're not going anywhere. You understand? There are problems. Yes, we are made to solve problems. Those that we create, those that are naturally created, we must find solutions to it. We must not resolve and say that, okay, this problem is caused by this person. Then we look at the convenient way of inflicting pain on other people to solve the problem. We must help our people to live.
Sure. Thank you very much, sir. So, if you can hear me, I just spoke to one of the residents here. We were speaking to another person who has, who is sort of concerned about this situation. It's also a resident here, and if you wouldn't mind, I want to engage in this. But it's more. Thank you very much. You're live on TV. What's your concern with this issue?
My concern is with this issue is mainly on those constructing the bridge. Yes, whatever they are doing here, they are doing it to help the nation, to help the community, to help the area. But now, as they are trying to help, they are rather causing damage to other properties, which is not right. When I got here to find out the main problem is from the bridge they are constructing, they blocked 40 feet of part of the flow to the sea. And 40 feet of flow to the sea is a very, very big size of the flow. And these floods that are passing all the way to Accra to Corporate and other things, it has not happened like this before. This is the first time. So I fly the drone to realize that the cause of what is going on is from what they are constructing here. So for what my brother said, yes, the engineering work has to be done well, because I think if this was supposed to be done at the dry season, it won't happen like this. But if they are going to continue, they have to find a proper way of fixing it so that it won't cause another hazard like this again. But when you check this, they should have used cranes to lift this thing to fix. But they are trying to find easy ways to use the excavator to fix. That's why they backfill 40 feet side of the bridge so that they can get it easier. And it won't work like this, so they have to change the way they are fixing it. Then it will not cause damage.
Okay, sure. So you are coming from your home, and I believe that some parts of your surroundings have flooded. Just paint the picture to us. How is the situation like?
Okay, my place is not flooded. I don't have flood at my place as we are talking now. But the neighbors from distance of my place, as they know me that I also do dredging, I'm a contractor by protection, and they try to contact me to see if we can sort things out. That is where I got to know flood is going on around some areas of some people.
And what are they telling you? How is the situation like?
Yeah, they say the water is not flowing, it's not going. And I thought, you need to find a solution. What is the problem? So they're asking me, am I experiencing the same problem? So that is where I need to, find out where the whole thing is going. And I flew the drone and I find out this from the bridge here that's causing the whole mess.
Okay, so I spoke to your colleague, and he made mention that you shouldn't blame the residents on building on waterways and other issues. Do you also stand by that?
Yeah, I have traveled along the whole world. When you go to Holland, they live in water. When you go to Den Haag, they live in water. But the residents are not living in water, they live on land. Where is the flow? Where is the flow? So we need to, join us. You see, there is a saying, when you go to village and you want to know everything in the village, you need to find people who know the town very well. You can't do these constructions without contacting people or natives of the area. As it's raining now, do you see any of the Chinese here? Have you seen any of the Chinese? By the contact with Chinese contractors, do they know anything about the flow of the Safety Lagoon? They don't know. They don't know how many hectares of this thing that have moved. They don't know how many thousands the water has flowed to the sea. They don't know nothing. They have come to do their job and take their money and go back. But we that we are here, if it rains, we come here, we see what is going on. We know the pressure of the water. I can tell you now, this is coming from Corbridge, this is coming from 37, this is coming from Elsopa, this is coming from T-Junction. Meaning, I know all the waterways collectively to the Safety Lagoon. So even if I'm not a structural engineer, I'm not a technical man, a lay person to have an idea. That is why we have they say when you go to somewhere, we have what we call a brain. You see, when the old people in the villages, they are the brain that is governing them. So they know everything there. So you ask them. If they are not there, they have children who they share idea with. They know that, okay, my daddy told me here, water flow here, you don't do this, you don't do that. So even if it's a kid, it's a native of that town, and they have the knowledge of everything that is going on there. What we need a collective idea to solve the problem. But we have to stop blaming people. No, but the blaming will not solve the problem. We need a collective idea, and we need good engineering work to be done. That's all.
All right, Kennedy.
Why did it happen today? Have you come here to cover a news on this bridge by flood before? This is the first time. That means there's a problem with whatever they are doing.
Kennedy.
Thank you, Axel. So, not before.
Right.
So I just spoke to another resident who is also expressing concern over what they claim poor engineering work on the safety bridge. They are calling on assembly and everyone to have a collective hand in fighting the menace, so they can also have their way through.
Right.
So we'll be visiting other areas to also assess the situation and bring it up.
All right, thank you very much. Kennedy Chumesi is a broadcast journalist here at CTTV and CTFM, and clearly from the pictures he's been showing us from the Labadi area where we have the Lakweshi Bridge, quite a dire situation there. You could see the water that's flowing from under the bridge, and of course, clearly it poses some danger to persons who use that stretch. But social media is awash with videos and pictures of the flooding situation. Obviously, the situation is better now as we speak, but some 2 or 3 hours ago, quite dangerous. And we must commend the Ghana National Fire Service, personnel from the Ghana National Fire Service, for their efforts at helping people move from one point to the other, especially around the Kwame Nkrumah Circle interchange area. And of course, so if you go onto social media, I mean, the pictures and videos are there. Just use the hashtag Accra floods, or you can follow the City TV handle on Twitter, or the City FM 97.3 handle on Twitter, and then you can get all the information on social media with respect to the flooding situation in parts of Accra, as we have had it or have experienced it today after a few hours of rainfall in the capital. I mean, if you go to the Fiesta Royal traffic intersection, some hours ago, the place was flooded. The same situation with Agbogbloshie, same situation around the African Regent Hotel, that's the Spanner Junction area, same situation around Shangri-La. We also saw some flooding along the Gifford Road and other parts of the capital. The Obechebi Lamte runabout, which now is being turned into an interchange, witnessed or had its own fair share of the flooding situation. And of course, there was a spill-off to the Agbogbloshie area, Graphic Road, the area that houses all these companies, Japan Motors and the others. Niyama Ama, my colleague, he was there, got stuck in the traffic. I mean, was caught up or held back by the flood waters, and so came to work quite late. But yeah, we thank God he's here and he's safe. But yeah, tell us about the traffic situation that arose as a result of the flood waters taking over the roads leading through these areas that you went through.
Well, over the years, and today was no different, we all know that when it rains from Graphic Road all the way to Kanishi First Light, it's just as constant as you may think. The traffic would always be bad because the road is overtaken with water, so usually a 2 or 3 lane road would become a one lane road. So everybody is trying to get onto that single lane to avoid the open drains on the edges of the road. So the traffic was massive this morning, and you could see, especially those who were going towards Accra, they seem to be very much more affected because going towards Kanishi, we all know, or people have come to understand that going towards Kanishi using that side is really a no-go area, even if you use the first tier of the interchange, because you finally descend. The last time that it rained heavily, the road, huge chunks of the coal tar on that road just came off, and it took extra about a day or two for engineers to be able to fix that side. So that side seems to have become a normal place where people always look for an alternative route. But those coming from Kaswa, Weja, you seem already stuck on that tangent towards the central business district of Accra. So the traffic is always severe. Now, when I was using that to flood, this around 7 a.m., there are usually police officers stationed at the bottom of the interchange or at the original Obechebi Lamte roundabout that would always check or monitor drivers' behavior at that time. But this morning, when it was raining and I was using that side, I didn't see any of the police officers stationed there, which was quite unusual for me. But I felt, well, because it was raining and they also have to run for cover, that is it. So perhaps if they never got to come back as the rain intensified, then that would explain why the traffic was so bad this morning, because the number of cars I could see there, and even my interaction with some of these people in these cars who had finally made it out of the interchange area now on the Graphic Road moving towards the central business districts of Accra, they were telling me that they had been stuck for hours. There was a a church or a commercial bus that had actually broken down, that had stopped. And he was like, the car just gave up on him because he had already spent hours in the flood water from Kanishi First Light all the way to Kanishi itself, and now here. So the car has given up on him. So I mean, these are the kind of situations that make the traffic even worse, because cars are breaking down in the middle of nowhere or in the only lane that is left for all the cars to use. So now the car is broken down on that lane. So now you have to get closer to the drain, which comes with its own risk of do I know how big my car is? Do I know how big the road is before it gets into the drain area? Because that whole place is flooded by water. So there's a lot of calculation, a lot of grace that you would need to be able to navigate such a terrain in such flood waters.
So that's the situation with respect to the roads you used on your way to work this morning. Social media, I mean, there's some comments underneath our post. That's the City 97.3 FM post on social media. And a number of you are commenting on the situation. Most of you, of course, seem or appear to have given up on the situation. I mean, Frederick J says they know their predicaments, but Osuandus Victor is saying that, Mr. President, this area does not need any 1D, but rather they need one area, one canoe. Obriya Boa Steven says things like this in Accra are no more news. We'll come back here hopefully next year to be seeing the same thing. Henry says that Sahara area at Adabraka is always flooded. Bright Avo, our country, Ghana, needs a total reconstruction plan because the current state of affairs with regards to flooding governance is so unsustainable. Sanchez, Emerald Sanchez says, so what well are they waiting since the last flooding? Everything government, can't they clean up their own mess or demonstrate against the MCE or DCE to clean the place for them? So clearly he, of course, asking for some citizen movement there, people taking responsibility for their surroundings and, of course, ensuring that they do not suffer the flooding situation over and over. Albert Noble Tete says, for how long can we continue as a country like this? Ghana. And then, of course, Alexander Ansel-Fum saying the National Cathedral will solve all these problems. Don't worry, Kra. We know where he's going with that. But clearly, yes, send in your comments, help us tweet at us, and then let us know what the situation is with you. We understand almost everywhere in the capital is flooded. Spintex flooded, Teshi flooded, La flooded, Dakuman, Dansoman, Kanishi First Light. We understand the University of Ghana, parts of it, Legon, is flooded. We saw the Agbogbloshie area, Shiashi, the area around the African Regent Hotel, Spanner Junction, Shangri-la, Gifford Road. All these places were affected by the torrential rains that came down early today. And we're also understanding or getting the understanding that, well, in some areas, the situation is better now compared to some 2 or 3 hours ago because flood waters in these areas have receded. We've seen flood waters around the Fiesta Royal traffic light, that's the Jowulu Junction traffic light, and of course we've seen flood waters also around the Apenkwa area, the Tesano Road leading through to the Ghana Police Academy Road when you're making your way through Circle. So it gives you an idea or an impression that really most parts of the capital are flooded. Earlier on, we spoke to my colleague Fred Duho, who came through with some live pictures of the situation around the Odawna area, where an entire stretch had compounds of various houses flooded. Well, of course, some residents or landlords in those areas, stopped him or denied him access from going into the compounds and given us a picture of what the situation was like there. But from the little we could see, these houses were flooded. For the house that he was able to access, of course, he had a conversation with one gentleman, a resident of that particular house, who sort of explained to us that the situation has been recurring since 1992 as far back as he could remember, and for which reason we saw in a certain part of the house, they had actually created a channel, ironically, for water to flow out of the house into the drains outside of the house. And so that was the situation there. Now, he had wanted to access the rooms of that house, but clearly as he moved, the farther he moved, the higher the water levels, making it quite difficult for him to access the rooms of that house. And so on your screen now, it's Kwame Nkrumah Circle. And of course, we can see what the situation was like there some hours ago when the rains came down. And you can tell the difficulty pedestrians had went through crossing from one end to the other. We can actually see someone being carried. And usually in certain areas when it rains like this and the places are flooded, this actually becomes business for some people who tend to carry pedestrians who do not want to get wet from one point to the other at a fee. We've seen this happen over the period. In certain parts also, we see people directing vehicles through flood waters also at a fee. And so clearly people taking advantage of the flooding situation to make some quick cash. They say one man's meat is another man's poison. So that's what some people in certain areas do with flooding. And so these are all shots from the circle area, shots recorded earlier when the floods came. And you can see how high the flood waters had risen there. If you look ahead or you look far, you see an individual holding his or her waist, navigating his way through the flood water there. And you can tell from the shot how high the water levels had risen as at the time this video was taken. So clearly flooding in most parts of Accra today following a few hours of rains as recorded earlier. Now in your shots and now this looks like the African Regent Hotel area, Spanner Junction coming up to Shangri-La. That is if you're using the Legon Road coming through the airport road going down through to 37, and you can tell at this particular point that's the place just around the African Regent Hotel, that's Spanner Junction area. Water levels taking over most parts of the 3-lane road, and so vehicles just having to use one lane. Of course, this one lane not free of the water, but clearly the best point at which to drive, and you can see the difficulty there. Drivers maneuvering or going through a lot of difficulty trying to navigate the flood waters there. In your shot now is a mobile phone video taken earlier around the Shangri-La area, and you can see the speed at which water is rushing onto the main roads, clearly giving you an indication that the gutters there had overflown, and there's a spill off onto the main road, creating some obstruction to vehicles that are plying the stretch. And so this morning, well, there has been some difficulty for workers looking to get to their office space, and of course for students who had wanted to go to school this morning, they're having some difficulty going to their various destinations after having left home. And of course the difficulty posed by the rains that came down this morning that left parts of the capital flooded. Still in your shot is the Shangri-La area, and we can see the water levels there. Also, we brought you some pictures earlier of the African Regent area. Also along same stretch, the Spanner Junction area, we saw videos of the situation there. We understand the situation was no different along the Spintex Road area, where that place was recorded also some level of flooding. We understand University of Ghana, Legon, is also experiencing some flooding in certain parts of the campus. And so, I mean, it generally cuts across the flooding situation, which has become a perennial situation. And after a few hours of rains, we see flooding in most parts of the capital. One of the affected areas is the Ablekuma West area. We have the DCE, or the MC, sorry, on the line, George Cyril Bray. And we're grateful for having you, sir. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, sir.
Many thanks for joining us. I want to believe you have gone around your area this morning to assess the situation. Kindly help us understand what it's looking like, or what it looked like earlier, and what steps you are taking to help bring some relief to affected persons.
Well, thank you very much for the opportunity. I don't know whether your team has also been around, because occasionally when I have issues like that, they come around for us to visit some of the places, but they have not seen them. But let me just use this opportunity to say sorry to anybody whose home probably has been flooded. But then it's been an issue that is persisted for some time. But it's a problem that half of it is man-made. So we are trying to find solutions to it. I know you may ask along the line of what we've done about the president's directive of we pulling down houses in waterways.
Well, even before we get to that, when you say the problem, half of it is man-made, exactly what do you mean?
Okay, so what I mean is this. People have built in areas they are not supposed to ideally build. And it is out of the fact that not because the assembly has permitted them. That is why I was jumping straight to the question, the obvious question I know you would ask along the line, which is why we have not pulled down the houses President directed we should pull down. So if I may, then let me inform you and your viewers that that exercise has started. But we have not done it on a mass scale, because yes, there are some areas that obviously must go as early as immediately the president told us to do that. There are some other areas too that we need a bit of engagement. When I spoke to your team about 3 weeks to a month ago, I made them understand that there were certain areas that were not too clear whether we were going to have flooding indeed when it rained. But then the team, that's a team of engineers, i.e. works, roads and all that, were on the field collating some data. As I speak to you, that has been done, and we've identified some other areas that we are having flooding because of these structures. And like I told your team, work is going to start in earnest in the next couple of days.
So it gets difficult to appreciate some of these things sometimes, because one will wonder why these buildings or structures are not stopped right from the onset and are allowed to develop to, levels that make it difficult to go in and demolish.
All right, so if I tell you some houses are built overnight, I don't know if you would easily appreciate it, or I may have to take you to certain sites.
No, but that is granted. But when day breaks, do we not see these structures coming up?
There are some of the structures we may not even see. The areas where they are even being built are so obscured. The team, you see, I think this slogan that you guys sometimes come up with may have to work with everything happening in this country. I think when you see something, say something. Because you find these structures coming up in areas where probably the team of gentlemen who go around to inspect may not have seen it. And unfortunately, those who live in those areas are either scared or are family members to those developing it or something, so they don't even alert the assembly. Some of the structures are built overnight. Some are built over the weekend when they know the assembly probably is not working. So you sometimes get these structures springing up on the blind side of everybody.
Right.
But that notwithstanding, we are doing a lot to make sure structures that are not having permits from the assembly are pulled down one way or the other. I told your team the last time, since coming into office, I am not proud of it, but I can tell you, we have demolished no less than about 1,000 structures within Agbogbloshie West alone. So indeed, we are doing a bit about it, but then there is more room for improvement, as the teacher would always say. So, like I said earlier, very sorry for those whose houses are getting flooded, even though hitherto they weren't having their houses flooded. But then we are still on it, and we make sure we do everything possible to bring relief to those households.
But now you have at your disposal the city response team put together by the Greater Accra Regional Minister. I want to believe your area has received or has been assigned some of these officers. I mean, would it be prudent to have them go around and do some monitoring with respect to some of these structures, those that are coming up and of course those that are already developed, so it gives you a clear idea of how to go about this plan of removing structures in waterways?
Exactly so. The team, we received the team this morning. Their leader, we are yet to even have a meeting because he is in a meeting currently with the response team. So we are going to have them join forces with our existing team, that is the engineers and the field inspectors and all that. And believe you me, come some few weeks down the line, I am sure we would be singing a success story and not sympathizing with people who have their homes flooded.
Help us understand which are the most affected areas in Agbogbloshie West when really we record flooding.
Well, we have Odawna being the very first one, and like I said earlier, it is more like a man-made flood-prone area, because unfortunately the houses there do not have permits and they seem to be building it haphazardly, if I can put it that way. That is how come we have an area like Odawna getting flooded. Then you go to the Opetekwe area, which is also another flood-prone area. Then you look at Dinfe, which is also a flood-prone area. So these three areas are my Achilles heels, if I can put it that way. But like I said earlier, a lot is being done about it, that some respite would come in the next couple of weeks.
But have you been engaging residents of these areas or affected persons on the way forward?
Yes, as we speak, I am supposed to have a community engagement even next week with the people of Agbogbloshie. This morning I've spoken to a number of them, and we are going to find a lasting solution to the problem, like I said, over the next couple of weeks, based on our engagement with the people. But indeed, in as much as they are not supposed to build where they've built, these are human beings, and we just can't overnight say we are pushing them to where probably they do not have any whatever, but we need to engage them and let them appreciate whatever the situation is, such that those who are not supposed to be there, when they are being moved out, they would have at least made some effort to get somewhere to lay their heads, and not just because they are not supposed to be there and they are status and they are legal, whatever. We just push them onto the streets without any solution. That's how come we are taking a bit of time to engage them, and then we'll take the necessary action.
So while these engagements are ongoing, as MCE for the area, what assurances are you giving these residents?
Like I said, we are planning on embarking on these exercises, as in the demolition exercises, in the next couple of weeks. So anybody who has his house where ideally shouldn't have experienced the flooding, that is experiencing it, please bear with us. It's unfortunate. It's very much unfortunate to to be losing your property at this time that the system looks a bit difficult everywhere. But we plead with them that they bear with us such that when we start embarking on the demolition exercise, at least we are sure to bring some lasting solution and lasting peace to the whole problem.
Thank you very much. George Cyril Bray is the MCE for Ablekuma West, and this area, of course, this is where you would have places like Otojo, Glefe, and other areas, places known to always get flooded whenever the rains come. And we heard him there giving some assurances of the commitment of the Assembly to carry out with the directive by President Akufo-Addo to remove structures on waterways to allow for free flow of water and prevent the situation that we're seeing as has happened today with respect to flooding. MCE for Ablekuma West, George Cyril Bray there. Thank you very much. So, yeah, that's the situation we're recording today. As we have recorded in previous times, flooding situations across the capital and sometimes in other areas of the country whenever it does rain. I mean, we have little rain and big floods, and that is what we are having to contend with anytime that it rains, a perennial problem. I mean, we've seen some well, we've heard some assurances, some promises being made by persons in authority on what is being done or what has been done to avert or ameliorate the situation. But clearly, it's obvious we are not getting the needed results. But do go onto our Facebook and our Twitter, CTTVGH, and of course City 97.3 FM, and drop a comment there. We'll be sure to read them out here for you. Let us know where you are and what the situation was early on when it was raining and what it is now, if you're still within the same area. But on social media, I mean, clearly a number of comments there. If you go to @CTTVGH, you see some photos that we took earlier and posted, and you see some of these areas and what the flooding situation looked like in these areas. And then, of course, when you check out the hashtag Accra floods, it will take you onto a feed where you get to know what people have been experiencing today as the rains came in. Niamama is still in the studio here with me. I mean, he had to go through the floods to get to the office today, and so he's joined me, giving us some insights on what really it looked like. But of course, from the stretch he's used now, water levels have receded. That's the Graphic Road area, Agbogbloshie area. Water levels have receded now, but clearly not a good sight early in the day while he was on that stretch. I'm going to bring him in again, but before that, let's go over the telephone and speak to Hansen Ajiman. Good afternoon, Hansen. Oh, he is actually joining us live.
Good afternoon, Tufo.
Nice. Hansen, where are you, and what can you tell us?
Well, currently I'm at the Malam Market, an area which has a road leading towards Dansuman, and in this particular enclave, the residents here tell me that they have partly been saved today by the rains, because if usually when it rains, the entire place gets flooded, and by God's grace, in their words, this is the only havoc they've seen. Some of the rains still taking part of the road and part of their way, the way to their homes. But on a bad day, when it rains at this place, it's very difficult for them to stay in this place. And for most of the homes that are here, they at that particular point in time are forced to seek shelter at the story building, the uncompleted building ahead of me. So that is a story on a bad day. But today, people are going about with their normal duties because they've really not had an impact from the rains today. But in a place such as this, you will still see signs of flood water. So the streets currently has been flooded, and this is supposed to be a road leading towards a mechanic shop. Now the cars are parked here, but you can clearly see the impact of the rain, and the road leading to this mechanic shop itself has been affected by the rain. Now you have some homes here, and these people will not have to walk through the flood waters if they want to make it out of the place. And they attribute this to a number of reasons. There are a lot of scrap dealers operate around this area. Some of them sometimes just leave these things in inappropriate places that they are not supposed to leave them. So you can see trunks here, you can see some buckets and some metal equipment waste, if I could put it that way. Now these people say these attitudes of the scrap dealers, as well as the waste situation here, coupled with the poor drainage system, sometimes attributes or results in this. I'll try and speak to a resident who is here and get from him what exactly, or an explanation of what results in this problem. But most of these houses here, they tell me that some of their owners are skeptical in completing them because of the challenge that they face always with issues relating to the flood. And for those who have already moved into this particular area here at Malam Market, they have pumps that they usually use to draw the water out of their home. So they bought the pumps themselves. But when we are talking about the causes, you can look at in your shorts, there you have it, plastic waste all around here, rubbish all around here, bottles. Really, these are wastes that have been made in our homes. And currently walking through part of the water, and it's about getting to my knee level, almost close to the boots that I'm wearing. And this is even on a good day for residents in this particular area. I've met one of the residents, and I will speak to him shortly on what exactly he thinks causes this problem. Senior Pajo, ahanate.
Ahayana me wo.
Na insunisha asiye time ben.
Surely me sorry na ashasiye deda. Me sorry around 6 o'clock, but me sorry na atwa me fie na eye ma edeba.
Na ofie wan emphasize.
Oh, me fie wo enim ho na baby a wonante free e by first house na nsa wo dro ha no e ho na me fie e wo.
Ne you say they be insuo to a just mu free ha that uncompleted building na wo show no na ampa.
Na kra ye koda uncompleted buildings no ebi mo so ye ko hotels na niam ye mre wa na niam de ye ntimi inform nkofo ho di ye de omukọ hotels na niam na ma koda
na ebi mo catch him say na de massive problem ni shada no so
na de we has Accra na ye no we de say we de nya hwe enya hwe, but abafie no mo obia company de aba outside nti nya wo outside na ye nya ayema won kofo fie o ma pompe e de aba onto the street.
Na mo hwa den na ma ade we aba
nya ye hwe ni se ho ye area hanankasa no nsuo no to a ebete no na problem ni ha wo, but collective drain na efi odoko ne enyema aba no nsuo na to ewie no na afi na ahana e collect no na ahase se ahana yema nya me kan wase because nsuo no to a as at the time to no aha enyema da aha you okay, but on say wo hwe drain we da ha ya omo ye omo enwie atame time na omo ye omo enwie oh nti omo ye si baby nti ne fi odoko ne we ni nyina no aha na ebefa nti ebefa ne ebufa so saa na after nsuo na to wi a wo da wi no na eye maba This is send my bet to you say no. Say talk a crack on one. We say hanging on your mouth. We say na drain nankasa nyomo ye no mwenwi no. Ne eyema ne e raman fufi.
90 drain yasem ye money penifo aka ho asem.
Oh ye ne o maka ho asem ye ne assemblyman edi ho kita ho assemblyman so afre MC you know. Oni MC na behwe e ma MC no so akasa ho say oh omo ye ho ntutuye but ya hwe sa it's been years upon years assemblyman dey active dey be owa nso kitua bi poor particular waba but years upon years you know we are not getting any response because osha gata no mo twa ye nenko what is supposed to serve the purpose of odoko nsuo ne sa niam ne nyina no enko enti e ba na beta ye ha no enti ye ha na nkasa nsuo ne to a enya hwe but collectively no between the sanity odoko oba no na package of na pack house and sa niam
na gata yi almost say
oh akamel time no omo dey e gata no I think that when there was a 2011 at Amel's time in Omuna almost started so more but I think at Amel's fees no more abandoned project no because we no na and say echo straight to the lafa na to lafa no but e see wo be e we ya nti odoko nti oni ba nyina e beta ye area ha sei nti gata no entwaso nti bebi a mo machine si e ha na ewo nti it taking the time na twetwen kakanka nti wo ni pump wo fi a wo be pompe nsuo ne dia ba out na chese wo gadget nyina ese
o say obia ewo
pump ni fie
e be say e ko efie no mu bi na
oh okay
ye ko hwe pump ni mu bi but ye hu say ewo area ha say no ate edan bebre o hono ma amanfo sisi o mu nsim ye nsuo na e to na as you say ebi aha say no e ka hunti na amanfo nsuo ni fie wi ana say le na
le pa sho aha no na 9,000 or hanging that during wonderful time Mukuli a lot of the houses down I 9-story buildings executive story buildings maybe are only 15 I executive story buildings dining be proud to compare but they have put all of them down. That is on the left side.
Was it because it was on the waterway?
I suggest say yeah, it could be so because on the left hand side, not almost on the sister but when you believe a waterway and they wouldn't have approved of their documents because of no more documentation concerning the Moko land. I am approval name Yemen now. If it was a waterway, I don't think.
But if they demolished all these buildings who supposedly were
Hansen,
are you sure that it's only the train that is a problem or the waste? Because you can see plastic, all sorts of waste, and you can see the waste that has been gathered by
No. Those ones are not waste. Those are the scraps people. They have given them a yard over there, and then they gather their scraps over there, and then they come for it. You know, they sell it.
Yeah. Hello, Hansen.
But these move into the gutter.
Hansen.
Because the way it's been.
No. It doesn't move into the gutter.
Yes, Hansen. You stay with him and get all the details. We'll be coming back to you. But we're going to the University of Ghana, where we understand parts of the campus is also flooded. But thank you very much, Hansen Ajiman, coming to us from the Malam Market area. We're going to go to the phone lines and then we'll bring you a report or an interview from the University of Ghana where we understand some parts of the campus is also flooded. The rains really this morning have left in its wake some devastation with respect to flooding in several parts of the capital city, Accra. I mean, we've picked up reports from the Spintex area, Teshi area, La area, Kandeshi, Dakum, and Dansuman. Hansen just brought us pictures from the Malam Market area. We also saw Kennedy Chumesi bringing us pictures from the La area, that's the Beshi Bridge area. Also, Fred Duho, live pictures from Odawna Circle, where we saw some houses flooded, and of course the market area where the plastic or the women who deal in plastics reported of flooding. I mean, their shops taking over. by flood waters. So really, the torrential rains this morning has caused a lot of distraction, if we can put it that way. Of course, the school children got to school late because of the rains and the floods this morning. Workers also get into their workplaces quite late also this morning. But as I mentioned to you earlier, there's also a situation on the University of Ghana campus, and Frederick Brooks is a student, and he's joining us via telephone to give us a picture of the situation there. Good afternoon, Frederick.
Yeah, good afternoon, sir.
How are you?
I'm doing very fine, sir.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. Tell us exactly where you are on campus and the situation you're experiencing as it is.
Right, so I'm at the Mensa Sabah for and early this morning. There was some serious flooding. In fact, we are all shocked because for the very first time, Mensa Sabah has flooded in this particular manner. As I speak to you, some students are actually rushing to join their friends in other halls to take some kind of solace because the situation at this particular place right now is something you cannot describe.
But you say this is the first time?
Yeah, this is the very first time because there are times where you see some amount of, let's say, downpour trying to accumulate in one part of maybe the hall. But to the point where, the flooding becomes so intensified to the point where, it enters the room, forces the Porter's Lodge, all assistants to also boat and all that. We've never experienced that to this level.
Which part of the hall, and what can you attribute to this?
Well, we understand that in the inception from the establishment of the hall, the architect actually created some drain system. And so if you enter Mensa Sabah, you see some kind of minor drain system where when it rains, it should be able to not particulate, but it should be able to, go deeper down. But what our understanding is that for a very long time, the project managers of the school have not launched any kind of attempt to find out exactly what is happening down there as far as the drain is concerned. And so we can understand that maybe it could be as a result of it getting choked because of maybe several times where maybe debt, litters and other maybe sand had accumulated within the drain system. So we can attribute that to maybe lack of proper maintenance of the drainage system.
So how are students faring this morning? Or how did students survive the situation when the rains were heavy?
Well, I can say the level of confusion, and especially when a student is actually in a lecture hall and is being called that Sabah has gotten flooded. So it's all of like a to and fro movement. People moving out with their things, people rushing in to also move their things. Because you understand that students have laptops, we have students who are charging their phones on the floor, we have students who may be using refrigerators, television and all that. So when you look at it from that particular perspective, you can understand that students are frustrated, confused, and especially when students are calling some of their friends in other halls to go and maybe take some kind of abode. And you understand how Legon Porter system is as well. If you are not a resident of a particular hall, it is very difficult for you to be allowed to even go and sleep there. So I can say students are stranded to that effect.
Have you been able to engage the authorities on this matter? And if yes, what have they been saying to you?
Well, I think that not particularly Mensa Sabah, but there have been several occasions where maybe a particular vantage place like the night market has gotten flooded. And I have personally had conversation with the SRC president. I was speaking to him. I think the PDMSD would have to also give a critical look at it. But then, as we speak now, the JCR executive of Sabah have not responded as it were if they have had any initial conversation with management on this particular matter. But politically, I think students have been raising concerns, through the radio wave and through other, avenues. But we have not received a concrete response from management to that effect.
Have water levels receded now?
Hello?
Have the water levels, has the water level receded now?
Yeah, well, I can say considerable, but till now, because I'm sure the drainage system is choked to the point where it will take some time. So I can't tell you that it has actually reduced. You have to slow down a bit.
All right, thank you very much. Frederick Brooks, he's a student of the University of Ghana, and he was just telling us that parts of the Saba Hall currently flooded, and of course they're just waiting for the water levels to recede so they can access the facility. So torrential rains this morning, I mean, we just can't get tired of it. Even if we can't help it, because that is the situation we are dealing with every other time when it rains. We have the flooding situation in Accra, and it seems as though efforts are being put in, but these efforts are not yielding the desired results, for which reason we keep coming back to the same issue of perennial flooding whenever it rains. Well, this has been our show, bringing you up to speed, bringing you information, updating you on the flooding situation in the capital, just to help you navigate your way to and from your homes. Early, we spoke to Fred Duho, who came to us live from the Odawna area. We also heard from Kennedy Chumesi from the La area, the Kweshi Bridge area. We also heard from Hansen Ajiman from the Malam Market area. Ni Ama has been in the studio with me. He came back from the Obechebi area, the Agbogbloshie area, Graphic Road area, and he has been updating us on the situation there. Torrential rains do bring flooding whenever they fall in Accra. So it is for you to heed to weather warnings and, of course, to keep safe. Mostly these can be attributed to three factors: building in waterways, indiscriminate disposal of waste, and, of course, the poor drainage systems. Hopefully, authorities are hearing and seeing us, and, of course, some action will be taken with respect to bringing some sanity, especially when it rains. My name is Nanatufo Boateng, and many thanks for watching.
Welcome to the This is Ghana exhibition.
I'm made in Ghana.